Welcome back to another fun-filled show. I'm your host. He is Blanchard, aka Free Blanche, aka Blanchard Damas, aka Blanchy Kruger. And today's title is Did Nick Fuentes Get the Call? I watched the video last night. Young lady, her channel is Make Sense of It Marie. She's on YouTube, but she played a video of Nick Fuentes talking. And so I want us to listen and decide whether or not he got the call. Now, Value Customer says, Blanche, Nick gave an explanation of the January 6th situation on his show. It sounded convincing to me. Well, I played his reaction on the show. I don't know if you've seen the video, but I played the reaction. We went over, his explanation. But again, I'm going to stand by what I said. That he advised people, he motivated people, he encouraged people to go into the Capitol. And then he turned around and said, you were dumb for going into the Capitol. And so, I don't know how we rectify that. I mean, at least in hindsight, he should say, I shouldn't have done that. I made a mistake. That was unwise. I set people up because folks were there and they were actually listening to Nick Fuentes. The Bible talks about to whom much is given, that much more is required. So you don't have the luxury of wanting to be a leader or being in a leadership position. And then when things go wrong, you abandon ship. And that's exactly what he did on January the 6th. He ended up leaving, him and his folks ended up leaving. So he can say what he wants to say. We went over it, but I'm going to say he's wrong for that. From a moral standpoint, he's wrong. From a character standpoint, he's wrong. Like, you can't tell these people to do something and then say that's why they got in trouble. So I don't respect that at all. And as a man, you need to correct that. You need to say, you know what? I apologize. I was wrong. I was sorry. Like, that's how I know that you aren't quote unquote fed. When I start seeing character, when I start seeing you own up to mistakes, that's part of being a man. That's part of being just a good person. And he claims to be a believer and follower of Christ. So I would expect nothing less from him. Again, I'm holding him to the standard that I would hold any believer to. He's not some random guy out here running his mouth. He's a guy that I believe has some great information, great ideas, but he's also a follower of Christ. So with that being said, I expect more. What's up, Jocelyn? What's up, y'all? Let me just jump right into it real quick. The young lady's page is Make Sense of It Marie. So please subscribe to her channel. She does great work. But let's get into it.
A lot of people are calling him a sellout and, saying he got the call and stuff like that. I don't think so. I agree with him 100%. I think he's looking at the bigger picture here. We have to move forward. And yeah, so I'm going to let the video play and I'm going to give my opinion at the end. So I hope you guys enjoy.
My YouTube feed is full of black people reacting to your content and agreeing with you. Smiley face emoji. Quite endearing, I must say. The blacks love you. Nick.
Yeah, it's so funny because I got called a racist forever. And now my monologue about black people's going viral and all the black people are reacting to it and they're all agreeing with it for the most part. And, look, it only makes common sense. I'm not a racist in the true sense of like hating other races for who they are or what is widely considered to be a racist. But I came of age in this politically correct period where if you were white and did not hate yourself and were not constantly tripping over yourself to apologize to or cater to black people, you were called a white supremacist. And I feel like that was the category that I got boxed into. I was never up here just like preaching hatred. That was never the case. And I always got along with black people. I always got along with Bryson Gray. I got along with the Hodge twins. I got along with Myron, Sneeko, Ye. I always got along with black people. I have these controversial views, but I believe I was boxed in because, again, you know, from the time that Michael Richards did that comedy routine where he said the N-word 1,000 times, and like a few years ago, it was so politically correct. Again, if you were not a self-hating white person, you're racist. If you went out there and said, look, I'm white, I'm proud to be white, I like white people, and I have nothing to apologize for, they would say, wow, you're a racist piece of shit. They say, you're a fucking white male. You have no culture. Step aside. Your time is over. And, you know, the inverse of that is if you were not tripping over yourself to not offend black people. Like, yes, I have said the N-word on the show. I've uttered that word. I know it's a crime. It's practically a blasphemy. But it's like if you're a white person that doesn't let them control your speech, you're racist. If you're not tripping over yourself to apologize and pander to their feelings about crime or these other topics, you're a bad person.
So I'm gonna stop right there real quick. So what Nick Fuentes is saying is correct. And I talk about the anti-white agenda often. There's a guy, his page is, I think it's still called No White Guilt. He talks about white erasure. And these things are going on and they are true. And I say this all the time, that the anti-white agenda is right next to the anti-God agenda, because they're trying to get rid of white people because of the culture the white people have set up. And again, there's only mass migration into white nations. There's only, when everybody says we want to blame somebody, they all point to white people. So white people, whether you want to agree with it or not, they're essentially the gods of the earth. And I mean, and I hate to say that, but that's how they're treated. They're expected to walk in perfection. If a white person has a bad day, they're called racist. If a white person makes a mistake, they're called. I just saw a judge. He read guilty when it was not guilty, and he probably made an honest mistake. But everybody in the comments calling him racist, like everybody. So again, white people are expected to be perfect. They're expected to be literal Christ on earth, and so the standard for white people is it's God. It's high. It's as high as God. And so I understand what he's saying 1,000%. And what he's saying is right. And also, when it comes to the N-word, the reason why white people have to say the N-word is because if you tell one group of people that they can't say a word, it is a violation for everybody's free speech, because that's how it starts. They're not going to stop with, okay, white people can't just say the N-word. They're going to go to other words. They're going to go to, we noticed back in 2020, 2021, 2022, if you mentioned the word vaccine, censored, shadow ban, you couldn't say so. So we saw the effects of this. So if white people can't say the N-word, but can get called the N-word, that's a problem. It's a problem. So I understand why he would say the N-word. He's saying the N-word to literally exercise free speech. I don't think he even cares about the N-word that much, but I think it's the point of somebody telling you that you can't say a word. Now, I know many people can't understand what I'm saying because they're so emotional and so silly and just very low vibrational and basically watered down human beings. But everybody gets what I'm saying. Everybody knows that telling somebody they can't say something is a problem when everybody else can say it and everybody else does say it. So I do understand where he's coming from. And he mentioned black people liking him. The only black folks that like Nick Fuentes are black people that aren't victims. Those are the only ones. And that's probably about 5% of the population. 95% of black people think Nick Fuentes is racist and they don't like him. I'm just telling you. The majority of black people, even black conservatives, don't like Nick Fuentes. They don't. So he has a very small group of black folks that actually like him. I mean, I'm sorry. Most black people, whether they are liberal or conservative, are victims. Most of them. Let's continue.
I was just ahead of the curve. I think black and white people have realized that there was this excess. I think we've all realized, like, hey, Houston, we have a problem. We had this narrative 5 years ago that, like, the police were the new Ku Klux Klan, genociding black people by killing them for no reason. And under that assumption, we started to defund the police and let criminals roam free. And now everything's a shithole. And now every night there's a story about an armed robbery, a carjacking, a shooting, a stabbing. We get these videos on TikTok. Never ashamed, they say. And now black and white people are saying, okay, so clearly that was a mistake. Like, clearly George Floyd did not get for walking while black. He was part of this epidemic of black sociopathy, which does not characterize every black person, but there are a lot of black people that feel entitled and they menace society, or they believe the rules don't apply to them and they commit crimes. And they're emboldened. And I think everybody's coming to recognize that's a big problem for all of us. Every law-abiding, decent person is going to say, yeah, clearly racism was not the issue. The issue is that opportunists will take advantage of a situation. There are opportunists who think they're not going to get in trouble for breaking the law. What do you think they're going to do? They're going to break the law. And so it is. So anyway. But you know what? At the end of the day, what I will say about the whole thing is it is almost emotional, because I felt like from when I started doing this, I felt like I was the good guy. You know, I wanted to be the good guy. When I started this show, I felt like America was controlled by Israel. I felt like diversity was ruining America. It's changing the demographics of our country, changing the texture of our lives. It's making the country unrecognizable. White people were under attack. I think in many ways they still are. They were being discriminated against. Our homes were being transformed involuntarily. Society was being ripped apart by feminism, by pornography, by all this degenerate stuff. It was getting more hedonistic and depraved as time went on. And it felt like it would always be that way, and it would always get worse. And if you spoke out about it, you just got lied about and punished unfairly. If you just disagreed, you were attacked ruthlessly and relentlessly. You were called evil, and people said that because you're evil, we're going to hit you, we're going to kill you, we're going to take away your livelihood, and then we're going to laugh about it. And so when I got into this 10 years ago, I wanted to be the good guy. I felt like the good guy. And for 10 years, for basically just disagreeing, I'm not a hateful person, but for disagreeing, they just shit down my throat and called me the worst things. I was ostracized from society. My high school friends wanted nothing to do with me. I couldn't get a job. I was banned from PayPal, banned from banks, banned from politics. And everybody would just say, oh, you're that piece of shit. Fuck you. Someone should kill you. And it's like, why? I do a talk show because I disagree? Because I think we had too much immigration? Because I know and say for a fact that Israel is influencing our country? And they started to make me feel like the bad guy. And in some ways, I leaned into that, I think. Not too often, but, you know, there's some unfortunate clips where I think we leaned into being bad. Because they made us feel like we were bad. They made us feel like for speaking our minds and saying what we thought was right and expressing our values and our identity, like, look, I'm white, I'm Christian, this is what matters to me. We were made to feel like we shouldn't exist, like we should go and kill ourselves or die, or that someone should kill us. Just because, and I don't think my show ever was really hateful or anything like that. And it wasn't fair. And we had.
And so, again, This is Nick Fuentes giving some backstory to his mindset during the time period and him basically articulating what the anti-white agenda is. Now, I hope that he's not naive to think it's going away. The anti-white agenda is not going away. It's here and they're going to ramp it up because they have to get rid of white people to push this agenda. Why? Because white people are going to fight back. That's why. Nobody else is going to fight back. White people are. Now, there may be small fringe groups from other races, but for the most part, 99% of the fighters will be Caucasian, white, European, whatever you want to call them, patriots, rednecks, whatever. They're going to be the ones fighting. So that's why white people have to be removed. And so I'm very clear about this anti-white agenda because if you can see that, then you can see where all of this leads to. This is beyond Israel, Iran. This is beyond all of this, Ukraine, Russia. This is beyond Epstein files. We are talking about the literal antichrist. And that's what they are making preparations for, is for the antichrist with this one world government. There will be a one world leader over a one world government, and there will be a one world people. This goes back to the Tower of Babel. They don't want borders. They don't want nations. They want, think about it, the United Nations. If everyone is united, then there's nobody different. They're all the same. They don't want anybody to be different. They want a one world government, a one world people, and a one world ruler who is taking orders from Satan. That is what they want. And so the anti-white agenda is the precursor to that. They have to get white folks out of the way because white people will go to war behind God's word. Nobody else will. I'm sorry. So this is Nick articulating the anti-white agenda.
No megaphone. I was some kid, and the ADL and Fox News and like Daily Wire were trying to get me. And so they started to make me feel like the villain. And you start then to lose hope in what's good because you say, if I'm doing the right thing, if I'm trying to do the right thing, if I'm being honest, and I'm getting lied about and slandered and like crucified for this, well, then, you know, what the fuck? Maybe there is no such thing as a happy ending. And so what's been emotional about this whole year is for the first time, I feel like the good guy. When I get to shine and I get to tell people, when we condemn the genocide in Palestine, which that's my real opinion. That's always been my opinion. You start to feel like the good guy. And when people hear you out, even about the race issue, you know, and they might not agree with the whole thing, but they say, I see where he's coming from. You start to feel like the good guy again. You start to believe in good again and in people for that matter. So it's been very compelling. And in many ways, someone like a Donald Trump, someone like a Nick Fuentes, you get what you give. And for so long, society was giving a lot of resentment and hatred and cancellation and all this stuff. And I think not even necessarily myself, but a lot of other people, they were giving that energy back. And that wasn't in every case. There are some people that are just sadistic and malevolent, but I think a lot of people were basically mistreated and abused and made to feel like there was no place for them in our country, made to feel like they had no right to an opinion, made to feel like they had no right to exist.
And I don't think that many people, and I'll say, let's just say the Groypers, many people don't understand that the same things that he went through happened to other people. I lost bank accounts, demonetized, lost other accounts. Like the stuff happened to me. And so it's not just because you're quote unquote a white male, or you're a white male that's a Christian, or you're a white male that's conservative, or you're a white male that's outspoken. It's also just your beliefs. And so anything that was seen as close to white, even now, anything that's seen as close to white to a white male is seen as bad. So everybody, you know, got it. You just imagine somebody that's black and they have conservative values. They're already ostracized from 95% of the black population. If a black person is truly conservative, they are ostracized from 95% of the population. And then if you add God and you add believing in things like I don't know, if you add in that you're anti-socialism and anti, like if you're, it's one thing to be conservative, it's also one thing to be anti these things. Like if you're anti these things, like you're against, you know, civil rights movement, you're against communism, you're against Marxism, you're against BLM, you're against Obama, you're against MLK, you're against these. Like if you're against this stuff, you are ostracized from the majority of black people and half of the white population. And honestly, if I can be honest with you, most conservatives subscribe to most tenets of black ideology. And when I say most, I mean MLK was a good guy, civil rights movement is good, blacks need help. So like most of them agree with that. I don't. I will be the first one to say that black people don't need anything but Jesus. Nothing else is going to work. They don't need socialism. They don't need reparations. They don't need anything. They need Jesus. And so I don't think this side understands what people like I went through and people on this chat went through, people on IG went through. They don't understand. Like we was getting the same smoke. They wasn't just snatching down Nick Fuentes' accounts. Everybody's stuff was getting snatched down. Anybody that was outspoken and wanted to tell the truth, they were under heavy scrutiny.
They were being told literally, like, if you liked America the way it was, fuck you, go die. If you're not on board with transgender, gay, everything, if you're not on board with endless diversity, endless incoherence, wars for Israel, all this kind of stuff, well, you know, you should just go and die and no one cares about you and you're a piece of shit. And I think a lot of people became very angry and desperate. They said, wow, like my life is being taken from me, my family, my neighborhood, my country's being taken from me. Fuck this. That's why people stormed the Capitol. That's why people went to Charlottesville. I know because I was there. And again, it's not to exonerate everybody. There are some legitimately malevolent people that are just resentful, are just malevolent or antisocial or sadistic. But I think the vast majority of all writers, Trumpers, Groypers, we are people that it was a reaction to what was going on. Now, the question is twofold. Now that censorship and cancel culture has receded, here's the challenge. It is to translate a movement that was reactive and resentful into a movement that is progressive. And what I mean by that is, I'm not satisfied with where we are. How do we push ahead? Not based on grievance and resentment and revenge. How do we push ahead based on building an American society that we all want to live in? Rather than just being angry, anti-white, black people, you know, rather than this kind of Matt Walsh, it's just a different flavor of racial resentment every night. The question is, what is the positive vision? How do we transmute that resentment into a positive vision for change and let go of a lot of that negative emotion? And it's not to say that we're not still aiming for a sovereign, independent country with white identity at the forefront. It's not really like changing the essential ingredients, but how do we make sure that the tone matches the moment? You know, 10 years ago, we were really under the boot. And I don't think we should take our foot off the gas, but it's going to be kind of like a tricky thing to do to translate the politics of like a Charlottesville or a J6 into a politics of what if the future inventors and innovators and architects, you know, the actual visionaries are going to share our politics. the builders, the progressives, the people that want to move society forward? How do we keep our foot on the gas without leaning into bitterness? How do we let go of some of those emotions, the anger, and treat our former adversaries with a kind of beneficence, with a kind of magnanimity? Which is to say, in other words, like we are the future. Everyone is a Groyper. Everyone is America first. Our former foes, our former opponents, the black people, the white people, the Christians, everybody else. How do we embrace them as part of our larger agenda? How do we bring them in?
So this is why people are saying that Nick Fuentes got the call. Now, I don't know what you all are making of this so far. This is why people are saying that Nick Fuentes got the call. Now, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say this again. It's never been about race. It has been about culture. I was having this discussion with someone, and I said, think about it like this. How many people in the world are actually God-fearing believers? I mean, actual Christ followers. I mean, if push comes to shove, it's Jesus over everything. What percentage of the world do you think is actually like that? Because that's what it's going to boil down to in the end. What percentage of the world is actually like that? Tierra said a few. Miss Kat Sinclair said very small. So if we think about these numbers being small, Tierra said 8%. So think about this. Think about that small of a group of people and think about the demographics of it. What are the demographics of those type of people, those 8% of actual believers? It's not going to be all white. Because what would make people a believer, a person a believer in Christ or follower of Christ, wouldn't be racial. And listen, I understand white people wanting to preserve whiteness. I do. I understand people wanting to preserve their people group and their culture. I do. I understand completely. But when we're talking about a movement that's going to push society forward, that's going to govern people, I don't know how you do it if you're picking the most righteous people to do it. They're not going to all look the same. They're not. And as much as we want to say we want racial solidarity, you can say that, but you know how hard it's going to be for Nick Fuentes to find a white woman that's not feminist, that's going to put God first, that's going to submit to him, that's not jabbed up. Think about what I just said. Think about the layers and how much of the population gets cut down. Not jabbed up, chopped down. America first, chopped down. Not feminist, chopped down. Follows Christ, chopped down. Not dumb, materialistic, chopped down, chopped down. He's left with about 2% of the white population to pick a wife from. You can put this for anybody. You can take a black guy and he says, I want a black woman that is going to put God first. Knocked down, chunk gone. I want a black woman that's going to be willing to submit to her husband. Chunk gone. I want a black woman that believes in America first. Chunk gone. Do you understand what I'm telling you? Do you understand that the ideology, the ideas that are going to create the culture have to transcend race? You're not going to be able to remain racially in racial solidarity if these things are what the majority of the population doesn't do. The majority of people in America are not what Nick Fuentes stands for. They aren't. I don't care if they think they are or not. Nick Fuentes is a 27-year-old white male who's a virgin, who's a Catholic, who puts America first. That puts him in a 1% group of men. 1%. Forget financially, just culturally and ideologically, he's in a 1%. How many women in America does he have access to? And listen, don't get me wrong. I am all for, if I go to Ireland, I want to see leprechauns. If I go to Africa, I want to see Africans. If I go to China, I want to see the Chinese. If I go to Japan, I want to see the Japanese. If I go to Australia, I want to see the Aussies and the Aboriginals. I want to see this. But I'm saying that's easier achieved in a country where it's not that diversely populated. I'm sorry. If you look at what's happening to these Western nations, I'm sorry. But anyway, so this is the reason people are thinking that Nick Fuentes got that call. But let him keep talking. Let me be quiet.
In a way that doesn't compromise our values and our vision, but that is magnanimous, that is letting go of some of those negative feelings from before, because we have a bigger vision. You know, the vision is bigger than this cycle of political grievance. It's about, you know, really fundamentally transforming America in such a way that everyone will wake up one day and say, we're all Groypers now. We're all America first now. We've all been won over. And the new floor, the new consensus is the Groypers, in the same way that the liberals did, in the same way that other movements have in the past. That's the question, because if the movement cannot move on from the reactivity, if it can't initiate and be proactive, it will not survive. It cannot continue to merely be reactive. If it can't let go of some of these emotions, the down, the bitterness, the negativity, can't move forward.
Now, what he's saying is correct. It is correct, because if you want a righteous movement, it has to start righteously. I mean, it just is what it is. So you have to have the best intentions and the purest intentions. In other words, you have to be Christ-like when you start the movement. So you can't start a movement on the guise of being bitter, being disgruntled, being upset, being angry, being vengeful. You can't, because he's right. It won't last. If we go to Matthew 5, verse 44 through 45. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you, that ye may be the children of your Father which is in heaven. For he maketh his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sendeth rain on the just and on the unjust. So I want you to think about that for a second. I want you to think about how God's no respecter of person. So God will let the sun rise for everybody. God will let the rain fall for everybody. God is no respecter of person. God is good. I'm going to send some goodness. And essentially, when you have a movement, you have to be that way. Because they're going to be people that are going to come to you, and they're going to be former communists, former Marxists, former libtards, former globalists. They're going to come to you, and they're already going to be in their most broken down state. At that very moment, you're either going to win them over or turn them into an enemy. And so, to me, the scripture leans into what he is saying about starting a movement. I talk often with people about, even with Jewish people, there's going to come a time where the Jews are going to be under great duress. And they're not going to be under great duress from the world. They're going to be under great duress from somebody they think is their leader and their savior. And they're going to be literally running to believers. You're going to have to swallow your pride. You're going to have to let the anger go, the resentment go, your biases. You're going to let all that go. You're going to have to treat them like God would and be no respecter of person. Because what you want for them is salvation. What we want is America first. So if what we want is America first, then guess what? You can't be the person. You don't have the luxury to be like a liberal or a communist, or you can't be like them. You got to be better than them. If you're starting a movement that's supposed to be righteous, you have to be better than the opposition. You have to be better than what you're going against.
I see this strain all the time. I think of guys like Matt Walsh, where every show is like one note, and every show is just like, fuck black people. Everyone's anti-white. Everything's racist. And I, like, on some level, I agree with it. I get it. That's how it's been. That's a righteous, legitimate feeling. At the same time, the kind of harping in that one note negative way, I don't think that's going to drive the conversation and society forward. It's too conservative. And by conservative, I don't mean ideologically. It's too, like, dispositionally conservative. So anyway, people are saying Nick got the call. If you're saying that, you're not understanding what I'm saying. What I'm not saying we should change any part of our program. I'm saying that the tone and the evidence is already there.
And understand a couple of things. He just had a birthday. So he's 27 years old now. And I said this earlier before in other videos that he's only 26 years old. Now he's 27, but he's young. I think back when I was 26, I didn't know anything. You know, when I was 26, I didn't know anything. When I was 30, I didn't know anything. When I was 40, I didn't know anything. Now I'm 47, I don't know anything. Like, you see what I'm saying? So, like, you're going to grow so much, especially as a man. So I understand these ebbs and flows of his thought process because he's a man, he's getting older, he wants these things out of life, he's seeing a bigger picture. And then also, I think what's humbling is to think that you're a message, to be called racist for so long, but then you're embraced by all groups of people, which lets you know that there are people out there that'll rock with you if you stand on the truth. And what he's talking about, obviously, is approach. He's talking about, you know, the approach could be better and all these things. But how many of y'all think he got the call? I guess that's the question. That's what I said, TK 79000. I mean, TKZ 9000. At 27, he's doing better than me. Top Herc said, not going to lie, he kind of corny. I mean, he, again, and this is another thing. I think that what we think is cool is subjective. Like cool and uncool, lame, and it's subjective. Because if he goes, let's say he goes to Guam tomorrow, he's going to be considered cool. Like, it's all subjective. Cool, like it's not really set in stone. It's just what you vibe with and what you don't. I'm not going to say he's corny, but I'll just say it's what you vibe with and what you don't. Because there are a bunch of cool people who could be considered corny as well. Torres said he got a call. Who else thinks he got a call? Well, let me let him finish.
People watch my show, even if they disagree. I can play to my audience of core supporters. I can also play to an audience of people that should hate me, and they may continue to hate me. But a lot of them are going to hear my message and say, oh, this is actually uplifting. This is actually a positive vision. This isn't what I thought. This isn't just resentment. This isn't just a kind of reactive message. People are saying this is a vision that is all encompassing that I can get behind. It's holistic. And so, most people are not going to understand what I mean by that because most people cannot think conceptually, but I will continue to demonstrate what I'm talking about and you will see the results. So sort of what I've been doing all this time. It's all in the approach. Everything is in the approach. So important, so subtle. The proof of the pudding is in the eating. But anyway, so that's that.
I agree with him. I think that we have to look at the bigger picture here. I don't think he's saying that we need to change the way that we think about things or the way we do things. I think he's just saying we need to change the rhetoric. We need to change the way that we're talking about things, because if the blue pill people are always going to think of the groypers as racist, then no groyper is ever going to infiltrate politics. They're just not going to get the full vote. I really don't agree with him when he says, I get along with Black people. They all agree with me, when he's talking about Sneeko, Myron Gaines, and the Hodge twins, because these are Black conservative influencers. Like they profit off of agreeing with white people, and they really do. They genuinely do agree with us. I'm not saying that, they don't or anything, but those are not the people that are ruining the cities. You know what I'm saying? And there's a lot more of those people than there are the few conservative YouTubers that agree with him. So
yes, and I'm glad that Marie said this, because yes, it is, like I said before, it's about 5% of Black people that actually rock with Nick Fuentes, and maybe probably lower than that, probably about really 2%. Now, obviously, mainstream content creators that are conservative and not corporate conservative. There's like the corporate conservative, and then there's conservative, and then there's, I guess a groyper. But I like that she said that all these Black folks ain't really rocking with you. However, I do believe that the fact that he has now his following is mostly white, but the fact that there are other groups of people that follow him and rock with him, I think is kind of eye-opening to him to say, wait a minute, maybe this is it's kind of like taking advantage of the momentum, seeing the possibilities of where this can go. I understand. Some of you all think that he got the call. Some of y'all said, is that a Satan's head? Let me see. I don't think so. Maybe it looks like a wolf. It might be. I think she might be into heavy metal. I don't know. I just saw her last night, but I think she might be in the heavy metal and stuff. It could be a goat's head. I don't know. Yeah. So I'm glad she said that, to say that no, it's not all. It's a small group.
I don't know about that. And there is still tons of white hate in the feminists. They're as loud and proud as ever, but the only difference is that we finally get to counteract that because Trump is in office. I really think that's the reason why. People just got sick of it and people spoke up, and now we have Rumble and X, but even X still shadow bans a lot of comments, and people will have to screenshot their comment and repost it. So because it's considered hateful. So really a lot of things aren't 100% gone as far as censorship and things like that, but a lot.
Yeah, and even when I'm trying to make these, I've got on my little thumbnail kick. Even when I get on these thumbnails, making these thumbnails, it won't do certain thumbnails. And I told you all this before, that AI is not impartial. AI is woke. AI is liberal. AI is AI is everything we detest. Because a friend of mine put something in Chat GPT, it wouldn't even create it. And then the other one has said, we're not going to do it because it seems bad. It's crazy. Like, so we know that AI is not impartial. So when people talk about AI won't be a problem, AI is going to be a problem if AI has a political view. AI is going to be a problem if AI is not neutral. If AI is going to be a problem if it's subjective. Yeah, it's going to be a problem. I'm telling you from experience, AI is woke and liberal.
A lot of people are coming down on him right now, calling him weak, saying he's a sellout. You know, he got the call. I don't think that at all. I think he is being a realist. He is thinking that, okay, this is the only way that we're going to be able to move forward is by bringing, you know, people into our movement. I know people don't want to hear that, but segregation is just not an option. That's just not an option. The only way to move forward is to change minds, is to persuade people to agree with the things that the Groyper movement believes in. I think that he's going to take us big places, and I think the men that follow him are going to do that as well. And I can't wait to see it because I know that he has something going on in his mind. I think he's releasing this clip just to kind of feel people out, you know, see what they're going to think and everything. Which honestly, I don't think he cares. I think he's going to end up going with the direction that he wants to go into. But tell me what you guys think. I think that this is a good thing, and he's got something up his sleeve, and he's going to push us forward. He's going to move us forward. I don't know if a lot of people are actually going to get on his side, and we might end up a year from now where he's like, you know what, I was fucking wrong. Fuck them all, you know, but he could be right. And we are all just continuously pushing towards the right direction. You know, these Black conservatives really do make a big difference in the Black community, and a lot of people are listening to them. So, I mean, there's not that many, but there are some. So yeah, I don't know. I think this is great. I think we need to move forward and stop being bitter Bettys. I'm not going to stop making my videos though. I mean, where I react to people and I expose them for being absolute, you know, white haters and man haters. Because I feel like if we don't do that, then they will kind of just take over again. And they need to be exposed 100% because it has not stopped. The feminism has not stopped. And, you know, the white hate has not stopped. It's getting counteracted now. So I don't know. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. I will keep you guys updated on this whole situation. And yeah, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching.
ChatGPT, what's a future-proof business in
Yes, and that
2025?
is make it make sense, Marie. Make it make sense, Marie. But let me get back to my studio. Yeah, so what is our consensus on did Nick Fuentes get the car? Okay, let me say this about, so this is what I'm seeing right now, right? This is what I'm seeing. She said, you got a call as well, Blanche. Well, who called me? Who called me? Let me say this, right? So as time progresses, people are going to be more linked through ideas, ideologies, and culture over race because we have access to social media. Social media is spreading culture around the world, spreading thoughts around the world. So people are teaming up with each other based on things that are other than just skin color because there's so much information out there to where if you have any kind of brain, you're not going to fall for the race propaganda. Somebody said, nah, we got smoke in the chat. But yeah, her haircut and everything. I mean, I think a lot of these people that are gung-ho and hardcore, okay, so the people that you see on the right now that have come over in the last, I guess, 5 to 10 years, these people were once liberals. And I say this, most of the folks you see that are major content creators were once liberals. Most of them. So, you know, I think it's good for people on the right to look different. I do. Like, I mean, I just think that nobody said you couldn't have any swag because you were conservative. You know, but who thinks that he is he got a call? Charlotte said, who's actually giving him a call? So basically they're saying that I don't know who gave him the call. Was it the Jews? I don't know. Trump? I don't know. I don't know who the they is, the globalists. I don't know who the they is, but they say he got a call. They never said from who. So I don't really know who gave him a call. But he got a call to make him change his tune up. But I don't think he's changing his tune up. I think that he's saying that the movement is not going to be sustainable without people in the movement. Like you can't have a movement that's all anything because you want because think about it. Imagine you have a group and there may be folks out there that aren't white, but can do things very well that agree with you. What you gonna do? Not bring them in the group? I'm just saying. There may be people of all races that got money to fund your movement. What you gonna do? Not take their money? Like at a certain point of time, we're in America, and I'm sorry, it's been too much programming and propaganda. Now listen, if you want to have an all white town, I'm for it. If you want an all white state, I'm for it. But if you're talking about a movement that is essentially going to bring America to want to put America first, or bring American values back, or to have folks willing to put themselves on the front line to make sure that America remains America. If you want that, everybody, like you can't close the door to folks that still want that same thing. Like me, myself personally, King Jones said communist comes in all shapes and colors. Right. Communists don't care about color. Freaky Boy Dre said, I believe Nick is just reflecting. I agree though. Like think about it. And again, I give people grace that are young to have time to grow. I know when I was 27, I was foolish. So I already know that he is going to grow a lot over these years. He's going to see things differently. He's going to grow. But I just hope that if Nick is going to be authentic, that the core foundation of his, whatever this movement is, remains the same. Because we have to have America still be America. I don't care what they say. If I got to pick between the Ku Klux Klan running America or the Nation of Islam, I'm picking the KKK. I'm sorry. If I got to pick between some white nationalists versus the Hebrew Israelites, I'm picking white nationalists. I'm sorry. Let me see. We get some super stickers in here. Let me see where. Thank you, Cruz Miss. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for the super sticker. Thank you so much, sir. Always supporting. Bali Brad 504 said on Whitlock's show today, dude named Chris Burnett has done a 33,000, I'm assuming word essay exposing Nick association with child pedophilia. Well, I don't know. I think that would be a lot more widespread. Like I think if that was really a real thing, that would be blasted everywhere. Because the right, the conservative, corporate conservatives are scrambling, afraid of Nick. So I think, I don't know. He doesn't give me that vibe. But I'm not saying he's not above it. We're all flawed. I mean, I don't know, but I don't know. I just think that, you know, there's an entire civil rights movement that we had that shaped the entire country is based on lies. Like they've been lying in police reports. Like they've been like somebody writing something and saying they're exposing somebody. I don't know. I can check it out though. But I don't know. It sounds like it's a bit of a reach, in my opinion, because I don't know. It's just a bit of a reach. It's like, why would you bring somebody on your show that just wrote an essay on Nick Fuentes? Like, what qualifies that person to be on your show? Because they exposed Nick Fuentes. Now they got some clout. Stop. I don't know. Chingo Bay says there's a few compilation videos of Nick talking about being a pedo and graping people. Well, again, I got to see context. I'm not like most other black folks out there. I don't just take a 5-second clip and run with it. You know, I don't just look at the title of the book, Black People Are Gods, and then put the book up and go run outside and play. So I got to see the full context of what he's talking about. There's a clip of the guy that I did a video on the ADL, and there's a clip of the guy from the ADL talking about, Jews running the world and controlling this and starting all the wars. But you can tell he's being sarcastic. But they clipped the clip. And listen, I think the ADL is hot garbage and trash. But the way they clipped that clip was dishonest, because he wasn't saying those things as a fact. He was saying those things in sarcasm. So he is a virgin. He is a virgin. He is a virgin. So again, I don't know. Yeah. So is he? Did he get the call or not? What is the consensus? I want to do a vote. Did he get the call or not? I don't know. This is what I think happened. I think after being shut out for so long, and then having an organic following, and then becoming the most popular content creator on the right. He is. I mean, he literally has the corporate conservative scrambling. And everybody likes him. They're just afraid to say it, but they like him. They want to bring him on their show. So imagine you go from being in the closet, and I'm not trying to, no pun, I'm not trying to say he's homosexual, but imagine being in the closet and now you're on the stage at Madison Square Garden. So it's kind of like, it makes you rethink a lot of things. And he said, you're like, wait a minute, this thing actually worked. People were actually listening. I'm doing something like, so again, I get it. Jason Whitlock and guests addressed these scandals for 40 minutes earlier today. Whitlock has a history of calling things out earlier than most be. I mean, I'm not saying that Whitlock is incredible or the person is incredible. I'm saying I'd have to sit down and look at the proof and look at the videos in their entirety. I got to see everything in context. I got to see it all in context. I can't just take, because I know how they do. They take things out of context all the time for a reason, because if you talk in context, it removes the emotion. No call, just backlash from Black conservatives and his inner circle to expand his perspective to more followers who may agree with him but don't look like him. Yeah, I mean, Corey, and that's very possible too. And again, I said that if you want to have a righteous movement, truly righteous, then it has to be a Christ-led movement. I mean, it just is what it is. That's just it. Jojo Mack said he got a call. He could have. Who is Big Bubba? WNs. Thank you, Rick Hamstead, for this super sticker. Everyone, God loves you all. God bless. And one love. Thank you, Rick, so much. Thank you so much, sir. People are saying did not get the call. He got the call. The videos are snippets, taken totally out of context. Anybody who listens to Chris Brunette or Jason Whitlock are listening to Agents of the Matrix. Listen, Joey, thank you. I know if I listen to the clips, listen, I don't even rock with the ADL at all. But I saw this viral clip of the guy talking, and they took what he said out of context because he was being sarcastic. I know that context removes the emotion. The only way to get people emotionally riled up is to speak without context. That's the only way. If you speak with context, it removes all the emotion. It makes people think. Will said, I don't really trust the guy based on his agent, provocateur, rabble rousing in January the 6th. Glad he's backing off the racial agitation, but he needs to quit trolling so much. Abstinence is preferable to incels. Yeah, he is a troll. But listen, he is a troll. Listen, and you know what? I get him trolling. I get him trolling because, you know, once you, like even myself, like what I went through for those 2 or 3 years, like I just don't, I have like zero tolerance. I'm sarcastic. I'm not moved by none of the, like, I get it. Trust me, I get it. Believe me, I get it. They said, Nick said he doesn't see China as a threat, which is all you need to know. Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy. All these major countries are threats because they're all going to bow down to globalism. Thank you. The issue isn't, like, this is what I'm saying, like, globalism itself is not going to do anything. Globalism with the buy-in of China, Russia, Israel, Europe, like that's what makes the globalism a problem. That's what makes it an issue. So China is literally there. China, the way China is ran is literally a global model. It's literally a global model in China. Like this is how we want the world to be, like China. Thank you, Rick. And this is what it really boils down to, you all. I'm gonna get right back to you, Dayon. This is what it boils down to. It's about money. And I don't care what these people say, they are not going to mess with the bag. So you are not going to see a genuine take. And when I say genuine take, I mean a take that's going to risk your money. You're not going to see a genuine take for most of the right and most of the left. You're not going to see it. You are not going to see it because nobody wants to mess up the bag. So that's on both sides. Yes, China is buying property and even has a police station in our country. I did a video on that police station. People said, no, it's not. No, it's not. They have one in New York for sure. And they have a lot globally. They got one in New York. They probably got one in LA. Probably got one in Chicago. And they have them globally. China is buying up all this farmland in the U.S. And this farmland is located around military bases. So yes, China is a threat. But again, I don't expect Nick Fuentes to hit all of these points. He has to have people around him that's giving him advice. And if he's going to be a leader, we can say a king, he's going to have people around him to be to see through his blind spots. I mean, it is what it is. But China is a major blind spot. Said China's buying houses in California. I bet they are. I wouldn't doubt it. Dayon said that Nick doesn't identify the world's problems outside of the Jews. He's okay with China and the Arabs taking over our country. And I'm going to say this too before I go. Thank you for that point. It is true. Again, the threat is going to be globalism. It's going to be when these nations are bowing down to this one world government. You're going to see it. And we saw a glimpse of this during COVID. We saw it. There wasn't any fighting going on. no talks of nukes. Everybody was on board. The Muslims, if they wanted to go to Hajj, they had to get the shot. In Israel, if you wanted to be a part of society, you had to get the shot. Like, so even though the Muslim countries and Israel disagree, when it came to that Peter pandemic, they agreed. Even though Russia and Ukraine are fighting now, supposedly, when it came to that shot, they agreed. When it came to the Peter pandemic, they agreed. When it came to that agenda, everybody was on the same page. That is a precursor for the future. You better put on the whole armor of God. Somebody said Trump put a stop to China buying up the land. I hope so. I hope so. I hope so. The system is designed for China to invest their dollars back into the U.S. But anyway, and even last year, I want to say, Israel was fighting in Gaza, or fighting the Palestinians, and they are fighting Hamas, and they had a ceasefire to give the children in Gaza the measles shot. So I'm just trying to frame your mind about what's going on. They stopped fighting to give the children measles shots. So I'm just letting you know that this is bigger than Nino Brown. This is bigger than CMB. You know, it's bigger than me. You know, but anyway, listen, I love y'all. Hope y'all enjoyed the show. We'll see where Nick goes from here. We'll see. Make sure you follow Making It Make Sense with Marie. And yeah, I love y'all, and I will see you all on Thursday. Hold on. Corey said, Blanche, would you ever deal with the origins of the construct of black and white? Yeah. Chad said that he wants to do a documentary on blackness. And so, yeah, I actually want to delve into that, you know, heavily before, you know, he decides to actually greenlight that project. But he wants to do a documentary on, you know, blackness. I would love for it to be called The Blatrix, but I'm probably reaching, but, you know, but I have just 2 scriptures left to read to y'all. I forgot. I'm sorry. The first one, 1 Corinthians 13, verse 11. When I was a child, I spake as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. And so when I was listening to Nick Fuentes speaking, that scripture came to mind. It could be a phone call. It could be growth. But if it is growth, for argument's sake, that's what I heard when I was listening to him speak, that scripture about men putting away childish things and deciding to literally walk like Christ. And then Luke 12 and 48. But he that knew not and did commit things worthy of stripes shall be beaten with few stripes. For unto whomever much is given, of him shall be much required. And to whom men have committed much, of him they will ask the more. So many men have committed to Nick Fuentes. And so they're going to ask for him to be the best leader. And so these scriptures came to mind when I was listening to him talk last night. But listen, you all, I love you all, and I will see you all on Thursday. Love y'all. Yes, Kayla, I will review Amanda Seals' debate. I will. So love y'all.